We are back on the Lynne Hayes Freeland show. I'm telling you, elections are around the corner. It just doesn't feel like it's election time, but in fact it is. You need to be an informed voter. That's exactly why we have Congressman Mike Doyle on the show. I want to pick up on a couple things that you just talked about, and a lot of your focus has been what you've been doing over the last 8 weeks since we've been in this pandemic. And one of the things that struck me is this pandemic has brought to light a lot of the disparities that exist within the Black community, whether it is disparities within the education system, or bringing attention to who some of the frontline workers are, some of the folks that have to be out there doing during this time, lack of access to healthcare. How do we use the spotlight that's been focused on this going forward and trying to eliminate some of these disparities?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned as we go through this pandemic, and if there is a silver lining, if you want to call it that, it's that it's being brought into attention very clearly. Some of the disparities that exist in our community. I'm part of the Black Maternal Health Caucus. I had a group of African American women from the city of Pittsburgh visit with me last month to talk about some of the health concerns that they have as Black women, infant mortality rates in the city of Pittsburgh, and other things. And one of the things we're looking at is this bill we call the Momnibus. And what it is well, we have, when we pass a budget and they put all the appropriation bills together, it's called an omnibus. Well, this is the Momnibus, okay? And what it is a way for us to focus specifically on some of the racial disparities that exist in healthcare for Black women, and to make sure that we're getting more dollars, that we're starting to keep data and records of things so that we can draw more attention and focus more federal support to some of the things that need to be done in the community. That's one of the things we're doing. Jim Clyburn, who's our majority whip from South Carolina, I've been working with him to make sure that as we're doing these appropriation bills and we're starting to look at the economic development packages and with the census this year, that we're using the data that we see in the census to make sure that federal dollars go first to those communities that need it the most, the poorest communities. So that's why it's important, by the way, that everybody fill out that census form, because that's how we put these formulas together. When I have control over where project money goes in my district, back when we did earmarking, where I could specifically designate infrastructure projects, I put all my major projects in my poorest communities. And I'll give you some specific examples. In Duquesne and McKeesport, when we passed the last transportation bill, we did flyover ramps to 2 abandoned industrial sites to be able to create some businesses and jobs in those communities. In the Duquesne site, and they were people couldn't get into the site because of railroad tracks. So we did these flyover ramps. So in Duquesne, the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank sits on that site now. American Textile, a big company, sits on that site now, and a lot of other smaller businesses. We did the same in McKeesport to give access to a site there that brought some companies there. In Rankin, I used my transportation dollars to put a site down into the Cary Furnace site so that we can develop that abandoned mill site to create some economic development in Rankin and Swissvale. In East Liberty, the Transit Center, I funded that project in East Liberty. And most recently, the connection you're going to see from downtown Pittsburgh to the Lower Hill District, that cap they're going to put over 579, that was my project that I funded, $20-some million. And it's going to spur a lot of economic activity in the Lower Hill. We've made sure that the contractors, that there's minority participation with not only the contractors, but with the businesses that will be locating in that Lower Hill, that there's a set aside for minority businesses to locate there. And we pushed hard for 30% affordable housing in the housing that will place not only in the Lower Hill, but up in the Middle Hill too. So I've tried to, when I've been able to designate monies, to focus on the parts of my district that needed the help the most. And that's been, parts of the city of Pittsburgh and the Mon Valley. And I think that's important that we focus that. My district's very diverse. We have some very wealthy communities in the 18th district, and we have some very poor ones, and everything in between. I have 54 communities in my district, the city of Pittsburgh just being one of 54 communities that I have to sort of keep my eyes on. But, you know, I've always tried to focus on the areas that need help the most. And, you know, when I've had say-so in where that money went, I made sure it went to those areas.
So I got a couple of things I also want to ask you, but let's do this. We'll take a break now, leave more time for the next segment, because I want to bring up a couple issues that last week we talked to Jared Dickinson. I want to bring up a couple issues that he raised last week. I want to talk about some debates and a lot more when Lynne Hayes Freeland Show continues. So don't go away. We'll be right back.